At this point, my viewers and subscribers are bystanders because I'm just talking to you, Boo. I'm reasoning with you from one big woman to a big man. And Boo, I'm a 56-year-old woman and you're older than me. And I have a 32-year-old daughter, a 28-year-old daughter, and a teenager. So I'm a big woman. You probably have kids my kids' age or older. Okay? Now, let me get into some personal things too. I am an older woman married to a younger man. The age gap is not as wide as yours and Kim, but it remains that he's younger than I am. And there were critical things that I would have had to address before I would marry this person. For one, I decided that I would marry him because he didn't have children. And then after we got married, we had to do the long distance thing for 5 years so we can get to know each other. Right? So I know all about this. I know what it's like to sponsor somebody into a country. I sponsored my husband 11 years ago. So I know all about this. And I was sponsored by someone. So I think I have a well-rounded approach to this, Mr. Boo. Okay, because I watched your video yesterday. Let me tell you, if wrath and rage had wings, it was just all over your face. And as a big woman, I want to reach out to you because I don't want to be like those individuals who sit by with their arms folded, just watch for the thing to hit the fan. And it's clearly brewing and it could ignite. I saw Kim sit beside you, and maybe you didn't want to do the video because we don't always get to see the whole story. Maybe you did not want to do that video yesterday, but you did. You joined after the fact. But when you came, you brought an energy with you that set the tone for the rest of the conversation. And for the first time, when I saw you sitting beside Kim, I did not see your wife. I saw a child. And I have no issues with who you choose to marry or who marry you. At the end of the day, you guys are married. And this is why I feel that I cannot take that standoff approach and say it's not my business. We are our brother's keeper. We are here to encourage each other. And when we see someone going down a road that could be terrifying or troubling, we should take our brother aside or our sister aside and gentle nudge them and say, listen, here or there or whatever. I listened to your conversation, your brief conversation, and it was clear that you were very angry. You wouldn't even look at her the whole time. You couldn't even look at the camera. That alone, I don't know why people are talking about prank, because that is not a prank. That's a true energy. In fact, it makes me go back to that prank where, you pranked her to say that they were going to send her back to Jamaica. And now I think it was a message within a message, but that's for another time. When you sat there with the young lady, and it's very clear that she's really trying not to throw you under the bus. She's saying as much as she feels comfortable to say without making you look bad. And what I saw yesterday is a very stubborn man who wants to have his way. Okay? Now, when you choose to marry someone that much younger than you, you would have to have the knowledge that if you want a young girl, you're going to have to keep her tied to you with kindness and love. You can't get stuck in your ways and say, well, it's either this or no way, because you're not even saying accept this or go on the highway. You're saying accept this and you can't leave. And that is very problematic. There, however you wish to come and spin this, there's no spinning it. You're saying to the young girl, this is what we agreed to. And we said this was going to be temporary, but things happen, and we understand that things happen. We had the whole situation with the world being shut down for a few years. And then you said, well, my bird is my family. Of course, I have two birds, so I can imagine not leaving them behind. But that's not the conversation here. The conversation is, if you want to be married to someone who's so much younger than you, you'd have to do something to keep her interested in you. And you can't force her to live in a situation where you clearly know is an uncomfortable situation for your wife. And then at the same time, you're asking her to stay because you have your birds. You're the one who has to do some compromising. And when you're saying there's not going to be a divorce, what are you talking about? When my partner came here, 3 years after they said that he could go about his business, I told him, if you don't want to stay, you could go. Because he's not a prisoner. Because we give people landed status, they're not a prisoner. We're not supposed to hold them hostage. And when you speak that way and you don't even give her a chance to, say what she really wants to say, she looked like a prisoner. And I'm sure that's not what you want. I felt sorry for the girl. I felt pity for her. And I don't care what anybody says. At this point, Boo, she looked like she's afraid of you. And I am sure that is not the message you want to send to the world. There are a lot of persons who have sponsored individuals, and they're really in support of what they're seeing happening now. Because somehow people feel like when they're married to people and they help them to leave their country and go to wherever their partner live, it has to be a lifelong decision. It doesn't have to be a long life decision if it's not working out. And the young girl is not saying she wants a divorce. She's just trying to change her situation. So where's the compromise? If you love her as much as I think you do, I think you love her, but you love her in a very dangerous way. And in my opinion, what you're saying makes me feel like that love is kind of dangerous. And it's hard for me to say I might be wrong because I know what I saw. And as a mother, it's disturbing. As an older woman, it makes me say, Boo, if you were married to a woman my age or a woman closer to your age, could you be saying that to her? That divorce is not an option. Divorce is not an option for you. I'm married for 17 years and I could never tell my husband that divorce is not an option for me because that would sound like a threat. And if my husband said that to me, I would be feeling very frightened. That is not flattering. That is scary. And regardless of what you guys are going through, there's an opportunity to be mature. You're the adult. You're the older person. She's an adult too, but you're the older one. You can't make people stay where they don't want to stay. And you can't make people feel what they don't feel if they're in a position where they are uncomfortable. So this thing, I know and I understand when you say I don't want to put my whole life story out there. I agree. But I think what she's saying, I've been doing this for a long time. This is sort of her livelihood. And right now she's being dragged because people didn't see. She was just trying to protect you. And so because she's protecting you, she's getting dragged under the bus. She's looking bad. And if you had the opportunity to come and you guys sit down and have a discussion to say, we have an impasse and here it is, which is really what happened. I'm a big woman. And I can't tell my man that divorce is not an option. I don't want to get divorced. But it's an option because he's free. He could change his mind if he wants to. And so can I. We don't owe her life to anybody because they sponsored us. Because you give her opportunity. It doesn't matter what you've done for her, how wonderful you've been. It would be nice for her to maintain gratitude and all of that stuff. But to ultimately say to somebody, there is no divorce, it's not an option, and it's not an option to part with your birds. She's not asking you to part with your birds. She's asking for a happy compromise. Why did you marry this very young girl if you're not going to do what you need to do to keep her? The same way you got her, that's how you're going to have to keep her happy. Right? Boo, you're giving off a kind of scary vibe. And maybe it's not intentional. But listen, we can make a difference. We can stay across the miles and we can influence people and we can appeal to people and we can, understand individuals. And I'm appealing to you to whatever is going through your mind, whatever you're telling yourself, whatever steadfast rules you have, you're going to have to address those. And I'm not talking about just counseling. I'm talking about realistically address them. When you look at your wife beside you, she looked like a child. No offense, Kim, but you look like a little child. And if you're married to somebody that much younger than yourself, Boo, then there has to be a give and take. You can't force this little girl, this young girl, to live in a household with you and live her life for your birds. Her bird has nothing to do with her life. Those are your birds. You love them. That's important to you. Kim doesn't give two shit about your birds. And not because she's a bad person. Does Kim even like animals? So why should she live her entire life for you because of your birds? It has to be a compromise. Don't allow the enemy to come between you and your partner. And you see that little voice that's whispering in your ears, and a lot of persons have been whispering in your ears from the day you married her. You should have stopped for a moment and think to yourself, is this what I really want to do? And did you entertain the possibility that you might grow apart? I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm just saying, did you even entertain that? And what was your backup plan? It can't be force. It can't be rage either. I don't want to judge you, but your disposition reminds me of the day when she did the prank. And I was very upset with her for doing that prank, but she did it. You guys are pranksters. That's what you do. But the way you responded when she did that prank with your son, your behavior in this video reminds me of that. And it makes me think that some of these things that you guys call prank, they're not pranks. They're truth hidden in humor. Don't think of it. Don't give the enemy any leeway. Don't let Satan walk into your mind and cause you. You have life, and things could work out if you approach it the right way. In marriage, there's compromise. Look back at your past relationships and see where you went wrong, because it takes two. Compromise, not a bully thing, because no one is going to fall in love and grow in love with anybody who's bullying them, and no one is going to stay as a prisoner of love unless that love is something that brings warmth and joy, and every day she gets up, she just look at you and she's saying to herself, oh, I'm so blessed to be with you. And you cannot hold the bird in your hand like this. It will suffocate. You have to let that bird know that it's free to go away, just like how you let your birds go. You open that cage and you let them fly away and they come back. They're attached to you, you're attached to them. You have to do the same thing with Kim. You have to do the same thing with Alicia. You cannot receive with a closed fist. You have to open your hands to receive. Okay? At this point, it seems like a separation is warranted. Perhaps it's time for Kim, Alicia, to spend some time with her mom, a little break away from each other before things get ugly. I'm not trying to be judgmental, Boo. I'm just hoping that this video will reach you and we'll get to think. Go back and watch the video. That tension was too much and it's very scary. And when I look at your wife's face, she looked like she's having nothing but deep regret. And the last thing you want to do is get your wife to be afraid of you. Nobody wants to be with anybody that they're afraid of. And I don't blame her for feeling that sense of fear, because I feel it too. Alright? There are a lot of persons that are being triggered here. I am one of those persons. I'm triggered. I know what it's like to live in fear. I know what it's like to move and hide and live like that because someone says I don't have the right to go, even though they don't have the ability to keep me happy and allow me to maintain my peace. Because really, of a fact, no one else can make us happy. All they can do is create an environment in which that happiness can exist. And I'm ending with this by saying, Kim, as I said in the first video, less is more. You don't have to tell anybody everything that you're thinking, because sometimes that can be very dangerous. All right, peace and love and joy and prosperity to you both. But my prayers and everybody else's hopefully will be praying for you and your wife. Stay blessed, everyone.